Yes, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, 5 things that we learn. I'm going to be talking to you guys about beer in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. Have you seen the weather, right? I was all gloomy after the result yesterday, and I'm sure you guys was. But I woke up today, the sun is out, and it's going to be 26 degrees, I believe, today. Or for Americans, I don't fucking know, hot. So I think that's a good thing. Let's be a little bit philosophical about what we saw yesterday, because I think there was some good signs. Højlund being one, I thought he really changed the game for us when he came on. But get your thoughts in as we go along, and let's get stuck into a live 5 things for today. So, number 1, away form against the top teams. Now, the rut continues, and it is a rut. We haven't won in the last 10 away games against the top 9 teams. When did top 9 teams become a thing, by the way? Don't know. Probably because we beat the team who played in 10th, off the top of my head, and doesn't fit everybody's agenda. Now, I think off the top of my head, we was only like 3 points off City against the top 9 or the top 6 or something like that. It wasn't too far off. But because it's Manchester United, it's a big issue, obviously. Now, I'm not going to deny that it's an issue. It's definitely an issue. And it is an issue that we need to correct. I'd have taken a point, and a point would have been a good result against Arsenal away from home in the circumstances that we found ourselves in yesterday. But we didn't take a point. And that's the story. Ultimately, this is a results business. And while you can take solace sometimes in performance and circumstance and context, at the end of the day, the result matters. No one looks at the Champions League final in 1999 and says, do you know what? We didn't deserve to win that, so I'm not going to celebrate it. Fuck no. Arms, legs, limbs, beer, everything. It's all over the gaff. Because the result is the important thing. No one gives a shit that we lost or we won at the last minute and didn't deserve to. No. Solskjaer puts the ball in the roof of the net. We go fucking bananas, right? So the result is the most important stat when it comes to a game. Particular cup final and literally the end of the season. But it's a problem. It's a problem that we have to solve. The performances and the result aren't there. And I think that's something that United need to fix. Is it lapses of concentration? Is it tactical? Now, in my preview, I went with McTominay. McTominay wasn't even on the bench. You know, there's a reason why, for anyone old enough to remember, and this feels really mental saying this because it was only 24 years ago, but 24 years is a long time. I mean, from when I started watching, 24 years prior to that would have been fucking 1966. Right, yeah, so it's a legitimate long time. Fucking hell. All right, I'm going to start this again because I feel dead old now. 24 years is a long old fucking time, right? So 24 years ago, in the treble season, Sir Alex Ferguson would get rid of Scholes and he would play Nicky Butt. Nicky Butt played, I'm sure, over 40 games in the treble season. And you would go with Nicky Butt and Roy Keane in midfield. Why would you do that? And actually, people don't really remember this too much, but Dwight York was a midfielder a lot of the time. People are like, no, he wasn't. He was a fucking striker. What are you talking about? When we didn't have possession, Dwight York was a midfielder. Dwight York would come and add an extra, particularly in Europe. United would essentially play a version of 4-3-3. Dwight York would come and be like a number 10 in front of 2 midfielders. It happened. Go watch the games. I watched them probably more than you should. So there's a lot of similarities between modern football and the way United played in 1999. And one of the big things that I think United can learn from and take is the Nicky Butt Roy Keane combo. That's your Casemiro and McTominay. It's about as like, maybe Amrabat comes in and he adds a little bit of that still because he does have 2 edges to him like that. But like I said last night, in the space of 35 seconds, Eriksen's shown us why he's in the team and why he probably shouldn't be in the team, which is a madness, isn't it? You sometimes have to flip. You can't play. The first 3 games was the exact same tactics, and it was against, certainly the first 2 games, the exact same tactics, the exact same team, and it wasn't the right answer for either team. I've heard Ten Hag say he doesn't care about what the opposition are going to do. He just tries and plays plan A. admirable, very stubborn, and that's usually a good trait when it comes to managers. However, I don't believe him. I don't believe that that's what the case is. And if he is doing that, I think he's wrong. We have to improve and figure out a way to grind out results away from home in particular. We had a moment or so. I've seen Arsenal fans disagreeing with me in the comments. But we had moments. There was the last 10 minutes or so, United were creating opportunities. We didn't have a lot of really good shots, but we had opportunities where we could have developed from something, and we didn't take them. And I think half the reason for that was Højlund. I will talk about Højlund again in a second. We looked like we could have found a result. Yes, there was a penalty shout. Yes, there was the offside, which extremely tight. And I've had a ton of people sending me the regulations for this year where they're talking about, if any part of the body is level, then it's not offside. And I guess that's not fucking filtered its way down to Stockley Park just yet. But it's one of those. We have to improve because our away form is the biggest. Like, our home form's really, really good, right? Whatever you're doing at home, keep doing it. Whatever you are doing at home, keep fucking doing it because it works. Whatever we're doing away clearly needs to be looked at. And there has to be a tapering of our tactics because we concede too many chances, too many goals, and we're not getting enough results away from home. That has to be better. Now, let's have a look at Højlund, because I think Højlund was absolutely mega for us in his debut. I thought he would be the star man if he got somewhere in the region of half an hour. He got somewhere in the region of half an hour, so I was pretty happy with the introduction of him. And almost immediately upon his entry to the game, United improved. Now, clearly not enough to go and actually get the winner, but we improved. We managed to hold the ball higher up the pitch. We managed to penetrate a little bit better. Marcus Rashford found more room because there was more defenders tied up because of the occupation that they were having to take of Højlund. He did manage to get a touch. I think it was inside the 6-yard box from the little cross from Marcus. He tried to do the Cruyff shot. And it was a glimpse of what might have been. Now, obviously, he didn't score. He didn't really get a clean shot away. But we saw a glimpse of what a physical pressing forward will do in this team, because I think that you really started to see United looking potent. The introduction of Garnacho probably didn't have nothing to do with that either. I think there was definitely a factor where Garnacho helped with that. But I really, really enjoyed the cameo that we saw from Højlund, and he could have made the difference. It was close like that. This goes without saying, but he's such an enormous upgrade on Anthony Martial, who played the most anonymous game I've seen anyone play outside of Donny van der Beek. There's a completely different dynamic. I feel like he's going to score goals. I feel like he's going to bring the others into play. And I think out of the game, the biggest thing I can take out of that was just how exciting a prospect he was in what was a very, very difficult game for him to come into. So really pleased with that. Obviously, nothing too carried away about it, but really pleased with his introduction. Number 3, defensive woes. And I probably need a better word than woes, because it's almost fucking calamities, isn't it? We saw a complete inability to keep a clean sheet. And a lot of people put this on Onana. And I think Onana could have done a little bit better with certainly the one that was right at him. But we can't put in a 90-minute defensive performance. Now, I thought Delot had a quite bright game. But I think Luke Shaw would probably have been a little bit more effective. Varane and Martinez would have been a more solid base. Lindelof looked a little bit shaky at times, now appears to be injured. Martinez seems to be injured. You end the game with Delot, Maguire, Evans, who honestly, I don't know how Evans got a start after the performances that he was putting in on pre-season. I really, really don't know that. And Wan-Bissaka. Now, I thought Wan-Bissaka was was okay against Martinelli. I think he was okay. I think Martinelli won a lot of corners from him, and he largely did his job, but he didn't clamp him in a way that I was hoping. Really, I am panic stricken now at the thought of Harry Maguire playing regular football for United due to these injuries. I can't wait to find out what the injuries are. Wesley in the comments there says Lindelof was ill apparently. Notch says Martinez took a knock, but he's said to be fine. That's a bonus then. What was my worry with Martinez is the way he was holding it looked like a metatarsal, which can be a couple of months. If it's a couple of months, the season is absolutely torpedoed. Now, I thought when you lose Martinez, knowing the sort of player Reguilon is, maybe it was too soon for Reguilon, and maybe there was some politics going into it. Like, I can't bring Reguilon in when I've got Evans and Maguire on the bench. But the sort of player, the stature of Martinez and what he delivers and brings to you in terms of ball playing ability, I would have brought Reguilon on and played him left side centre half. That might have been a mistake, but that's what I would have done. And I think that would have been more akin to what you could have got out of Martinez. I think Maguire, and certainly when Evans came on, we played so much more deeper, and I don't think that was I don't think that was a good idea at all. United have to get the defence right. We have to get the defence right. And I'm not having this on Arne slander. I'm not having it. Yeah. We'll see. Ant says, not saying Ten Hag is wrong, but I'm disgusted he's chosen to publicly criticise Sancho. Mourinho-esque smell to it all. I'm going to do a separate video about Sancho. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out a little bit later today. Maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. We'll see. Number 4, gut punch. So losing to Arsenal is a fucking gut punch anyway, because there are no worse fans on the world. There isn't, right? But it was a shit way to lose. From having a goal disallowed, which my first gut instinct was it was offside anyway. I didn't celebrate it when it went in because I was like, this is going to get reviewed. And by the way, fuck VAR for that whole changing of my experience of celebrating Manchester United goals, because I'd have lost my fucking nut at that. The fact that the referees allowed it and then we have to go back and watch it. Nah, fuck you. If the referee was like, nah, that was onside, and then you zoom in and it's a pixel in it, fuck you. There should be like a good margin of error, like 8 inches, like a big fat line. Like, let's not have a thin line, let's have a fat line. And if the line's meat, he's onside, go fuck yourself. But yeah, fuck VAR for changing the whole experience of watching a goal scored. Nick Collins says there's a picture circulating on social media that Rashford has liked Sancho's statement on Twitter. Interesting to see how that plays out, if it's real. I don't like the look of this at all, actually. So it's horrible to concede those goals and lose the game in the manner that we did, especially with an international break, because there's no ability to strike back and flip this on its head and go and get in the mix with that. International break means now there's no momentum going into that. Does that mean it's a good thing or a bad thing? I think that's up for debate. It means that a fix won't be quick. We obviously didn't get to see Amrabat before going on international break. Ditto Reguilon. I guess we'll have to wait and see for those after international break. But there's so much that we have to fix with that. It was a real gut punch the way we lost that. Anyway. Here's a message from our sponsors, and with today's weather and the mood, I think you should probably go and have a look at it. There's some absolute bangers in here, so check this out.
I might have built a bar, but you don't need one to enjoy your case from Beer 52.
Embrace the new season with an extraordinary gift from Beer 52. Unveiling a free case of distinctive and exclusive beers all the way from Chile, a tantalising collection created just for you. Our pals at Beer 52 have united with Chile's finest breweries to present 8 remarkable beers that are an absolute rarity. These gems can only be savoured within this collection, making your tasting journey truly exceptional. Ready to embark on your flavourful escapade? Head over to beer52.com/Howson. For only $5.95 postage, your exclusive beer case will be on its way to your doorstep. As a proud Beer 52 member for almost a year, I've been enchanted by their immersive approach to exploration. With each sip, you are transported to global landscapes of taste and culture. Let's dive in, unleash the flavour. Take a moment to uncork El Fakir Double IPA. Witness the citrus and prime aromas dance harmoniously with smooth, dry mouthfeel and a hop-driven bitterness. It pours like a radiant gold with luscious white head, pure delight in every sip. Delight in diversity. Stavapiolia beckons. Indulging Alameda Beer Co.'s Stavapolia, an ode to the iconic Czech Pilsner. A dance of delicious malt sweetness and balanced bitterness awaits, crowned with a robust head and the aroma of fresh baked bread. Not a fan of the dark beers? Opt for the light case. Guess what? Comes with delectable snacks to elevate your tasting experience. Embark on a lightning journey through Chile's flourishing beer culture and the award-winning Ferment magazine. Discover the incredible stories behind these craft brews. If you're still unsure, hold up. The flexibility to pause or cancel at any time. You are in complete control. If you're ready to immerse yourself in this sensational beer odyssey, visit beer52.com/Howson. Get your free case of 8 exquisite beers. This is your invitation to experience Beer 52's world of taste. That's beer52.com/Howson. Here's to a season of sipping, exploring, and savouring. Check that out. We do beer now, and I think we do it better than anyone else. What a good advert that was. Anyway, so if you like these and you want to go and get in the mix and get a free case, all you got to do is pay for the shipping. The link for those is in the description. And let's finish off what we were talking about. End on a high. We're going to talk about the positives. So it feels to me like a draw would have been a fair result. I thought Arsenal were poor. People are pointing to their XG. The last 10 minutes of the game, United was above them. But it was above them, right? Let's talk about the facts. It was a little bit, but it was above them, right? Their XG really blew up with the 2 shots that they had towards the end. Jesus's especially was absolutely enormous. They didn't really do what I was expecting them to do to what was a really, really, really weakened Manchester United side. I contradicted myself a little bit in terms of Anthony yesterday. And I thought he worked hard, but I'm still not happy with his level of production. I think his production can be better. I thought Eriksen shown real glimpses of quality. I mean, like I spoke about this a little bit last night. I love the ball that he played for Marcus's goal. I want to see so much more of that. I genuinely love that ball when he plays that ball. Dalot did really well in dealing with Saka defensively. Martinez was solid, helped really control his game, really control in the first phase, especially a nice little trick that they've got with playing out. Martinez drops low, they press with 2, Martinez runs in behind the first defender and receives the ball. I love that. May or may not be doing that at training tomorrow night. I fucking loved it. There was enough positives, but the loss really, it really took it out of us, didn't it? Ant says, Steve, we could have and should have won that game. I agree. And that's before we consider VAR and the fact that Saka and Jesus should have both seen red. Saka's was bad. Like, Saka's was arguably worse than what Casemiro got sent off for against Southampton last year. Alex says Eriksen's passing is creamy. Yeah, I think he's not a 90-minute player at the moment, is my opinion on Eriksen, but the quality is still absolutely there. Witterbird says that was my first United live game. It was so hard afterwards. Oh, what a fucking game to go to. I imagine the away end was lively. I believe the players got a little bit of shit at Stockport after they got back yesterday. Raymondo says defensively Eriksen cost us the first goal. I've talked about this so much now that I feel like I'm repeating myself, so I apologise to those that have definitely heard this, but I feel like Eriksen as an 8 makes a lot more sense because he's so more tenacious. I feel like he would have dealt with some of the stuff that, especially things like that, getting out to the edge of the D for the 10 coming onto a cutback. Nick says, didn't FIFA change the rule about marginal offsides being allowed to stand? Is that just for World Cups and Euros? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that at all. But yeah, I've seen the same thing. I don't know when it's applicable. Anthony says, what about Roy Keane? Arsenal fan headbutting Keane. I haven't heard that it was a headbutt. I saw the video of Micah Richards and Roy Keane. I saw a statement that said Roy Keane sort of like laughed it off and was quite professional about it. Doesn't surprise me, in all honesty. Mason says, if only the board got Amrabat in earlier, that might have been a totally different result. Now, there for me was no excuse not to have him for the first 4 games. Would the first 4 games have gone different with him in? I believe they would. And therefore, you're literally costing us point. Tishepo says, why isn't Palestri getting a chance? Don't know. Retro Sheller 92 says, misspelt, you're terrible, my terrible, what? Jeffrey says, what's happening to the marginal offsides not being a thing anymore? Don't know. Salford 6 says, chuff with Højlund, bigger than what I thought he was. Don't expect Haaland levels like the media clowns, though. No, his name sounds the same, therefore we have to compare them. That's what they're thinking. Brian says the new offside rule is on trial at the moment in Sweden, Italy, and the Netherlands. TSZ says Rice's goal was deflected off Maguire, if I'm not mistaken. Nothing Onana could do. Ed says, Keno, don't care. Love how Mika was right there, ready to do something if it kicked off. Mika's massive, He's like legitimately thick. Like, he is a big, big lad. CTB says, Højlund kills 2 birds with 1 stone now because Rashford can play on the left. Yes. And I think it's a good way to... You keep Marcus on your toes by hooking him off after 20 with 20 to go and throwing Garnacho on. You'll soon see Marcus start getting up in the mixer. Montreal says, off Johnny Evans. Right, all right. Gray says, Maguire, Evans and McTominay back 3 next game. I hope not. Thoughts on Onana getting yellows? Don't care. And with a super chat says, Rasmus showed our lack of intensity. Yeah, I thought he really looked good. I thought that, look, I try and take positives. I know people think I'm dead fucking grumpy. Maybe it's just my tone. But I like to think I'm largely positive, to be honest with you. I like to try and take the positives when I can. I just do it in a deadpan manner. The positives was Højlund. Stephen says, with a super chat there, says, 2 things that annoyed me the most. Wan-Bissaka gave the ball away so much, and why was Rashford not brought in the game? Everything going to Anthony. Yeah, Mark, look, if I can identify Marcus is going to be the key player and getting the ball to Marcus in behind, especially with White pushing up a little bit, if I can do that, then Mr. fucking 43 formations can fucking see that, can't he? Notch says Carrick, Fletcher and Park in the back 4. I believed in more of those. Jeffrey says, I believe you're very measured, Stephen. I try to be. Raymondo says, match of the day analysis shows Anthony in acres of space and not receiving the ball, particularly not from Lindelof. Thoughts? I'm torn on this one. I am torn on this one because on one hand, I don't want United pumping it into the channels from centre half. On another hand, if the ball is on, the ball is on. Like, I'd like United to move through the thirds. Frederick says, how are we supposed to play out from the back when nobody holds width? Of course, I don't see the reason in the final third, but we obviously need width when playing out from the back. No, not necessarily, right? So, playing out from the back is going through a massive revolution at the moment, and width isn't always the answer. Now, something I absolutely see my arse with, and my lads did it on Saturday quite a bit. We drew 2-2 against basically a team of fucking Stoke players, essentially. They kicked the fuck out of us 30 seconds into the game. Ronaldo gets lifted literally into the air. This is the most obvious booking I've ever seen in my life, and the ref doesn't book him. That basically gives full-blown permission now. There was about 5 challenges that should have been a yellow card in the first half an hour, and I'd almost lost my voice by screaming at the referee about it. Now, one of the balls that I detest is the centre half to the fullback. Why? Because it's an obvious ball. It's an obvious way to set a pressing trigger. You know, if the ball goes to the right side centre half, one of the obvious passes for him is the right back. So you can almost sit off the right back and then go and press the right back. Also, when it goes into that sort of small space, unless he goes back to the centre half, you're asking him to try and play it down the line. Unless you've given him a little bit of room and he can find an inside ball. They're difficult to do, though. I think you have a lot more success playing forward. You've got to have rotation in the central midfield area. So for United, that's Casemiro, that's Bruno, that's Eriksen. Those guys have got to rotate, come short, go long, move around. You know, start high, drop in. You've got to play the ball forward. You know, teams are pressing in really coordinated and weird ways, but you've got to be clever with it. Like I saw a little bit of innovation from Onana and Martinez. Arsenal are pressing with two. Someone drops in behind, presses out like that, just fucking running behind him. Really, really good bit of intelligence there that I liked. So, one of those, isn't it? What do I think about the Sancho saga? Tune in later for that. I'm going to do a whole video on that in just a wee while. Paul says, looking forward to what Amrabat has to offer. I absolutely agree with that. I'm looking forward to that as well. I think he might be a real big signing for United. And we'll finish on this one here because it's a super chat off Ray. And he says, I know I must be mad, but I thought Ten Hag game plan worked. We took the pace out of the game. We frustrated Arsenal and won 2-1, but VAR said no. Well, they didn't give it, so we didn't. But look, yeah, if you're taking the positives, then there's definitely some to be had with that. But thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Make sure to drop a like on the video. It just helps with the algorithm. And I'll be back a little bit later on once I've figured out how we're going to address what's going on with Sancho. But I'll be talking about that a little bit later on. So cheers for tuning in. Make sure to check out Beer 52 if you're fancying one. Unfortunately, you won't get your case today, but I think we're in for a bit of a heat wave. So go and have a look at them. All you got to do is pay the postage, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.